So I think this is an expression which has nothing to do with representation, but it's the dynamics of some emotional energy and experience which is intended to convey that energy and experience from the painting itself to the person that looks at it, and hopefully gets has an enjoyment in those qualities. And it's very much a celebration of the tactile quality of paint, which is such an incredible stuff, and it's the dynamism of the stuff which it can bring give expression to, as with the one above it, which is calmer. Although there's a lot of movement in it, the colour quality and textural qualities is quite different, although they're both abstract, and there they are. We've just been looking at two abstracts which are paintings which didn't rely on any subject matter, external objects for their creation, whereas there is a different situation here. These two paintings are two of others that I made on the foreshore, or near the foreshore, looking across the estuary. But they are more or less abstract. There are a few clues within each picture to tell us what we might be looking at, and that we're looking at an abstraction which doesn't find it necessary to put in photographic detail to convey some qualities of sensibility and feeling for the subject matter. The top one is pretty obvious, but it is, I think if you get the sense of it, it's very, very abstract. It's bands of colour, horizontal bands of colour, with certain distortions and that, which are inspired before the motif that we're looking at, but is not essentially necessary to be understood as a representation, although it reflects the source of inspiration, which was evident to me when I was making the painting, these two paintings. I'd just like to share with you some ideas which relate to these three abstracted images, landscapes. Fundamentally they're landscapes, response to landscape and being in a landscape. The one at the bottom here, actually, which is quite abstract if you're able to see it closely, is patterns of shapes and colours, but it represents a view of what happens after the sun finally fading in the evening, an evening sunset, and it's a view that I made probably in my teens, early teens, 16, 17, a view from my bedroom window. But it's quite abstract, and I still find pleasure in it and in its abstraction and the colour, the orchestration. So it would almost be as meaningful or pleasant to turn it upside down, and still you would then focus more on not what it represents, but on that orchestration of shapes and colours. This image above it is also a response to an experience in my home county, Staffordshire, and my hometown, which was West Bromwich, and it was made when I was a student. And I came home one night from a walk and felt this. The intention was to try and present an idea of locality where I lived, which was the Black Country, popularly known as the Black Country. And what you see is the formality of the factory style pyramids here, and the repetitive nature of the repetitive semi-detached houses above which there's a flash of light and colour, and a typical of that period, the smoking chimney stacks. So that has strong connections for me of my hometown and my early student days. The one above is much later, and it's describing a view of inspired by sitting near or in King Edward VII's Park in Wembley, where I lived with my family for a number of years. And what I'm showing, what I'm intending to portray, is there's a little disc, which is just a yellow background on which I've drawn a little circle. And that represents the sun, which illuminates everything. And there are three little patches there, which actually are people, we'll say. It might be one even there, a man with a dog. And they're casting long shadows. But it's the sun which casts the shadows, and is the life-giving force that creates the whole image. And the repetitive semi-detached are also symbolised along there, and the skyline is quite dark and murky. So it's a little bit of a mix of Wembley and all that at that time was meant to me, and I'm really trying to suggest how, in a sense, humans are quite almost insignificant. Well, these are two images made from holidays in Devon, in that direction, Cornwall, and it's a place by name called the Cloggy, and it's near Zena in Cornwall, yeah. And I think really I have to say myself that the subtlety of the painting you really need to be close to, and the quality of colour and the shapes, which are very pleasing to myself, and hopefully someone looking at it will pick up the same qualities and enjoy the same orchestration of colours and shapes. There's a little bit here I rather like where the headland is being washed as the tide comes in. So I really have a fondness for this because it is associated with those experiences of being an art teacher and having a long holiday and going away for 2 or 3 weeks and doing some painting, which continues in some of the next work that I'll be showing you, which is about holidays actually in the exotic places like Fuerteventura.